Andrew Portelli, what do you think is the purpose of comedy?
To make people laugh is the basic purpose, yeah.
And what is the good of making a person laugh? Why is that a desirable thing to do?
It gives them some relief in their life, makes them think maybe.
And why would we want either of those things for people?
Because to live is to suffer. And you can stop that for a little bit.
But does that stop it for you to help somebody else with their suffering? I mean, I would say maybe over the course of human history, the most popular ways of alleviating one's own suffering is to make other people suffer.
Yeah, it does. It does. Oh, wow. Okay. So...
This is from the start. All right. Bam! Hello and welcome to this episode of the James Donald Forbes McCann Catamaran Plan. I'm joined by Andrew Portelli.
Hello, James. Thanks for having me.
And we're here in a laundromat because that's the only time I had during the day was my laundromat time. My show went well, by the way. I haven't updated the listeners. I've been talking about my show for a long time. You came along. How did it go?
I really enjoyed it. I really loved it. I would have loved to see some of your old material because I love that also.
That's very kind. I don't believe in doing the old material. It's a cop-out, and I think you should burn the material as quick sticks. But my show being over and the Fringe going on, I saw you, and you didn't know how your show was going. You refused to check ticket sales.
I was just scared to check ticket sales.
But here in the laundromat, you've looked up your ticket sales. How many tickets have you sold? How many nights are you doing in the Fringe?
I'm doing 5 nights.
And how big is the room?
Capacity is 85.
And how many tickets have you sold so far?
So I've sold 2 for the first night and then 4 for the third night. So 6 out of 425.
And you've just found that out?
Yes.
You hadn't looked it up before a few seconds, just as we started the podcast. You found that out.
Yeah, well, I spent about 15 minutes trying to find out how to look it up, and you've
got to be pretty excited with 6.
I know you're laughing because you think, oh wow, that's really bad, but I was pleased that I'd sold 6.
No, I was laughing because I thought, what a great start for this project. I'm a fan of your comedy. You look like you've been hit. You're now blinking in a strange way.
I'm just really pleased that the show's going to happen tomorrow night.
Is there a show tonight?
No, there's no show tonight.
But so tomorrow night?
Yes. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, 10 p.m. at the Laugh Lounge. That is the start of my run.
Well, we're going to do what we can right now to get more people to come to this show. Because I had a thought when we were out the other night, and I didn't know you didn't have a manager. But I knew Lewis Dowell didn't have a manager. And I was saying, Lewis Dowell, I could be your manager. I could get people to come to see your shows and I could take 15%. You could be a good trial case. He doesn't have a show here, but I could use my skills now to see, can we increase it from 6?
That would be great. I'm so grateful to the 6 that I have, but if there were more than 6, that would also be so special.
All right. Now, I know I may not seem like someone who has a lot of powerful show business connections in Adelaide, sitting as we are in this squeaky clean laundromat. Yeah. But there's nothing squeaky clean about my business practices. We're about to use some of the dirtiest, foulest techniques of getting people along to this show. So, number 1, media. Have you got any media lined up thus far?
No,
Someone's honking their horn in the car park.
I've been posting to my own social media, but no one who follows me is from Adelaide, so that's the only media. Social.
We might want to look into traditional media.
Yeah. Okay. I heard that was dying, so I hadn't bothered.
Yeah, it's on its way out. Hello. I don't suppose you're going to see anything at the Adelaide Fringe? No? Well, my friend Andrew is a comedian, and he's from out of town. He doesn't know anyone. He's a great comedian. He's got a big fan base in Melbourne, but he's currently sold 6 tickets over the next week.
6 tickets?
Yeah, he's very impressed with the 6.
I mean, it's 6 more than 0, isn't it?
Well,
That's right.
Thank
He
you.
said. But do you have a flyer on you?
Yep.
He has one of the best posters for this show I've ever seen. And no, please. It's pointing this way, so if you don't turn around, you won't be exposed. And please.
Yeah, sweet.
He's a great performer. He's on at 10.
Where at?
The Laugh Lounge.
The Laugh Lounge. Do you have a lot of friends?
No.
Okay. Do you want to be in the podcast? Do you want to? You can sit next to Andrew. You could be a special guest if you want. What was your name? Sorry, you don't have to. Skylar.
Yeah.
Great. Skylar, I think we should potentially. You're the first person that we've spoken to since finding out there's only 6 tickets sold.
I do have about 1,300 followers on Instagram.
1,300 followers on Instagram.
I could post this.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Andrew, hello.
Yeah,
Skylar,
do that.
that would be incredible. Why do you have so many Instagram followers? Are you more successful than Andrew? Andrew, I'm sorry. We might have to move you on from the podcast and have Skylar as the special guest.
I defer to Skylar. I don't mind.
Goodbye, Andrew, and hello. What kind of music?
I just sing and play.
So good. Did you go to Adelaide?
No, I actually didn't, but I really like
You would have heard all of Adelaide. I saw Genesis Owusu last night.
Yes,
He was moving.
yeah.
He was grooving.
Yeah, I heard it's pretty good lineup this year, actually.
There was a great lady called Casey someone at the end who's like a folk singer. I'm going to find out her name.
Yeah.
She had she sang like this beautiful, like she was this beautiful demure woman. And then she had this incredible voice, and you go, is the Cookie Monster living inside this woman? It's so good. But we've got to sell more than 6 tickets to this man's show. What can we do?
What's your podcast going to be on?
The podcast is called the James Donald Forbes McCann Catamaran Plan. I'm sorry. I'm trying to buy a boat. But I had my show, and it was well attended, so now I'm trying to get people to Andrew's show.
The James what?
Oh, James Donald Forbes McCann. Yeah, but that's not important. Andrew Portelli.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna put this on my Instagram for you, for sure.
Great.
You wanna write down what your podcast is called?
Andrew, keep up with banter.
Okay. I'll just James. Don't. Skylar just asked me to tell them a joke, which I don't want to do. But okay. So James has just typed in the name of his podcast into Skylar's phone, and he's asking Skylar to follow him on Instagram. And hopefully at some point I'll also get some promo out of this. But it does seem like the objective has shifted. And now Skylar's typing in the account. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll share the thing on my story.
Okay. And Skylar's going to...
Most of my followers are probably Adelaide based because I'm a busker as well.
Oh, and Skylar's a busker, which is amazing.
Yeah, I'll share some
That...
on my Instagram.
He's so good.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Nah, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. See you. Bye. Okay.
It's those sort of interactions that are, I think, going to be the bread and butter of this boots on the ground campaign to get more than 6 people to the show.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe that. I mean, yeah. Skylar's body language was sort of shifting towards the door slowly, but I think that aside, I could see the potential for sure.
Let's not pretend Skylar didn't have a great time, although I've been wrong before. And that's something that in the laundromat you don't want to... There are some unspoken rules in the laundromat, you know?
Well, I saw you try to speak to that old bloke and he just flat out ignored you.
Oh, I was trying to ask even him. I was talking about laundry powder techniques. He was putting his laundry powder in the machine, and I've been putting mine in the slot.
Yeah, I always put mine in the slot.
Seems like where they want you to put it.
Yes, but I don't think he cared.
All right, so number 1, Skylar. There are some local influencers who could be helpful. Do you have any friends who are famous in Adelaide?
No.
Okay. All right. No, we can. Yep, we can. How about friends who are from Adelaide? So I'll share it. Who else do you know who is Lewis Dowell? You were hanging out with Carla the other night. Brandon Manarino, obviously, fellow Italian pride.
Yes, all of them. Lewis Garnham.
Lewis Garnham, the wonderful Lewis Garnham. Do you speak Italian?
No, not fluently, no.
But are you a proud Italian?
Yes.
Sure, a lot of Italian memes on Facebook.
Yes, very proud Italian.
Do you know we have a radio station for Italians here in South Australia?
No, I didn't know.
It's called Radio Italia Uno. I think we should try and get you on Radio Italia Uno. If there's one thing I know about Italian people, they look after their community.
Yes, they do. Yeah. Yep, I would be happy to do that.
All right, so that's one radio station. I think Fresh FM, I think I can get you on Fresh FM, the youth dance music radio station.
Great. Okay.
All right. That might be the end of the radio stations that I want to get you in with.
That would be still, 2 more then.
Okay. Yeah. Here's another thing. So the advertiser, the Murdoch paper in this town, they're currently embroiled in a stoush with the Adelaide Fringe because the Adelaide Fringe won't pay them or something. There's some weird thing going on. So the advertiser will only publish bad stories about the Adelaide Fringe. Do you think you could start beef with the Fringe? That's what I did. It was very successful for me. Would you be willing to accuse the Fringe of some sort of despicable act?
Well, I mean, I could just sort of say what's happened, which is that the Fringe encouraged me to do a show in Adelaide, and now I've only sold 6 tickets, and that is all true.
But I think we want to display power.
Well, I don't know that I could display power in this situation. I'd say the majority of that is my fault.
Have you got any money for marketing?
I have my own money, yeah.
Okay. I think that situation that we had there with Skylar, that was probably a good inroad. And I'm wondering now if we just find some more people and tell them about it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see the harm in telling people about my show. I think that's a good thing to do. I just didn't do it. Haven't done it.
You're a capable, intelligent man. Yeah. I don't want to speak down to you. You're a smart, hard-working man from Perth originally.
Yeah. No, I'm not stupid. I'm not a stupid person. I just haven't really told anyone about my show that's happening. But I have, I did have to pay for the venue and everything.
How many tickets do you think you need to sell to make the money back so far?
I mean, I should know that. Probably... Wait. Probably 70.
So if we sell 70 tickets, it's been a good trip.
It's already been a good trip, but 70 would really make it a great trip. Yeah.
Hello. How are you? Good to hear. I don't suppose you're interested in going to see a comedy show at the Adelaide Fringe. He's very good. His name's Andrew Portelli. No? That's all right. That's okay. You just had Arj Barker?
Yes, staying in my place next door.
Get out. He's a friend of mine. We play chess. He's getting better all the time. He plays with his elderly father. And did you go and see his show?
Did he bring his elderly father with him?
No, he just plays with him over the internet.
Oh, no.
But that's very funny. You're living next to Arj Barker.
He was right next door to me in
Right next door.
the flat next door.
Was he a good house guest?
Airbnb.
No wild parties?
It's owned by my twin brother.
Oh, right.
But he was right next door to me. I barely saw him. He was too busy.
He would be going in and doing his show. And he's selling a lot of tickets. Maybe we should ask Arj Barker. Is he gone? He didn't say goodbye.
Oh, no, he's gone. Well, he's got an apartment anymore.
Oh. Well, I'll write to him and ask why I thought he was doing the full run. We went to Betty's Burgers. We should ask people like that. We should ask other comedians. Whoa.
Is that what you're on about?
No, I'm just using that as a tripod. But the show, Andrew's show, is this is the flyer, and he's sort of like a Godzilla type creature coming out of the water. And we're just doing a podcast at the moment.
Are you? Why here?
Well, I have 3 small children, and I didn't have any time, and I wanted to help him.
At the same time?
Yeah. I got 6 minutes left on that one, and then we're going to start drying.
Oh, I just got in on the nick of time then, because that's the best dryer.
You've got the best dryer. One of these dryers once got too hot, and it wrecked my shirts.
They're no good, they're more expensive. The one down the
What?
end that I'm using.
Yeah. Hold on. Now, hold on. That one. But don't use these ones in the middle, you're saying, but these ones would be better, the Huaybesh originators. Oh, the Speed Queen.
Of those 4,
I like that it's called the Speed Queen. I've met a few Speed Queens in my time.
I bet you have.
You meet a lot of Speed Queens in the business. But,
That one of these 4 green ones
Yep.
is by far the best.
well, how long do you think you'll be on that one?
Well, I've got it in there for 7 minutes.
All right, well, I tell you what, how long have I got? I got 5 minutes left. I can wait. I can wait for the Speed Queen. Hello again. Doing very well. Would you like to come and see a comedy show, Andrew Portelli, at the Adelaide Fringe? He's a comedian, and we're trying to sell tickets to his show. He's never been to Adelaide to do the Fringe before for a solo show.
I'll let you know when it's finished.
Thank you. He's an excellent performer. All the way from Italy. Originally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where from originally?
Italy.
Italy.
My family's Italian. I was born in Perth.
Oh, no, Perth.
Yeah.
The Italy of Australia, I say.
Yeah.
Beautiful Mediterranean climate in Perth.
Well, I'm Australian, but my grandparents came here.
I'm going to give you that.
Italy, did your family come from?
My family is mostly on my mum's side. They're from Sicily.
Sorry?
Sicily,
Yeah.
and my dad's dad is from Lipari, which is a little island off Sicily.
Yeah.
And my dad's mum is from Vostok, which is right near Rome,
Yeah.
on the coast. Yeah. Have you been to Italy?
Sorry?
Have you been to Italy?
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. I travelled around Australia when I was young, but not outside of Australia, except that my wife and I we flew over the Antarctic. That's yeah. And,
When was that? You flew over the Antarctic.
yeah, we flew over that. She died in 2000. 2005 she died, so it was around about 2005, 2004 that we took a trip over Antarctica, and I worked as a designer of museums and also publications, displays, museums.
What kind of designer? Like a graphic designer, or you designed the exhibits, or?
I designed museums for people for country areas in South Australia,
Oh wow!
and for a lot of places, and for the state government, in Adelaide. I got to travel around a fair bit of South Australia, and on top of that, I've got 4 degrees, and one of them I travelled to Queensland and got a museum management degree in Queensland, in northern Queensland, because it was the only it was the only course in Australia that wasn't mainly for administrators. This was for designers. Yeah.
That's amazing. Would I have heard of any of the museums that you designed?
Sorry.
Would I have? Are there any of the museums that you designed? Like,
Would you like to sit down and do the podcast? Please. I have to sit here. That's all right.
what was the biggest museum that you designed?
The biggest. It's hard to say. They're all. A lot of them were country areas. In you get the State Museum, for instance, and they've probably got their own system, design system, but these were museums in country areas. And when I started designing them a long time ago, about 40 odd years ago, and at the time I started, there wasn't a lot of money for designing museums, and so I had to do things very economically and have a good knowledge of not only design but the manufacturing of things, and I had a fairly good idea of the history of South Australia anyhow.
Did you ever work on any museums that I might have gone to as a South Australian? So, like, what are the South Australian museums?
Those like in Adelaide, the Migration Museum, worked on that, and there's one on there's one down Port Adelaide, and a couple in Port Adelaide, and
The Maritime Museum? The
Migration Museum. Yeah, I worked on that, and I did the basic work to them. And in Adelaide, there were two. There was a government body that was established in about 1980. Well, I was one of the first people who, and that was the History Trust of South Australia. That was established in 1980, and I was one of the first designers to do work. In fact, they didn't have many people who could actually do things there, and the other one was the National Trust of South Australia, and I was one of the first designers to do work for them, and a lot of the country workers related to them, only it was in conjunction with the History Trust and the National Trust, but I was the guy who did the work for them, instance, and I went there, and they had people who were writing stuff, and the History Trust of South Australia, the Premier of South Australia, Don Dunstan, he sent a couple of people to Germany actually, and to find out a way of expressing the best way of expressing stuff in a museum. And
what kind of stuff?
Any history at all. And in Germany, they had developed, after World War II, they had developed some museums, and the basic was the Nazis' treatment of the Jews, and so the system of doing those sorts of designs in Adelaide were based on
So our museums in Adelaide were based on like the Holocaust museums in Germany.
on these German museums, and it showed the history of the Jews in Germany. Anyhow, and so basically it was partially pictorial and about. They gave me the rules of about 100 words or something like that, but I jacked it up to 200 words. I jacked it up to 200 words, and so I'd have a panel about 3/4 of a square metre, about a square metre, and about a square metre, and about half of it was pictorial. I have a big photograph, and about half of it was text, and it depend on the topic. Sometimes the text was a bit less, and pictures a bit more, but I try to balance it out like that. And it's
The Migration Museum. This was the Migration Museum in South Australia. Can we?
the basic is based on that same system. Oh, it's Gary, and it's Smile, and it's Mighall, and there's 2 R's in Gary.
GARRY?
Yeah. Yeah. And my mother was actually raised in. Her father was a Scotsman, and he came here to. He's a member of the Stuart clan. In other words, he was a relation of the Queen, actually. Yeah, they were. A lot of them were. He come from Scotland. Anyhow, he was. He was. I think there were 10 in his family, 5 boys and 5 girls, and his mother lived to 108, and she. Anyhow, he was, but he was the only one. The family, the males did a whole lot of different things. One was had a sort of general store manager up there, big one, and one of them was a seaman, and he was drowned at sea. My grandfather was a cabinet maker, carpenter, carpenter, and he actually built huge stands. He was brought to Australia to build big stands to place water tanks on top of. Yeah, and there was some Flinders Ranges, and he met my grandmother, and she lived in Gladstone. She lived in Port Pirie. Anyhow, he met her in Adelaide. Anyhow, instead of going back to Scotland, he ended up marrying my grandmother, and they had 5 kids. And yeah, and her family, the Germans, they were, and I've had to do a lot of work for around Gawler and up that way there, and she was actually one of the relations of Seppelts. Many of the wineries were based on, they were Germanic, Yeah.
The Italians went south, is my understanding, in McLaren Vale, and then the Italians went south, and the Germans went north to the Barossa and Gawler and that region. They were all German. Is that right? That's
the Italians, of course. There were a lot that came here in the 19th century, and they came from all, and Italy was right from history. Italy was the Italian language, for instance, Latin, that was based on something was actually derived from way outside of Italy, and
Strong nation building.
yeah, actually Latin was my I studied that at school, and that was my best language, my best subject.
I should come on down to the Latin Mass before it's
Yeah, yeah.
Pope's shutting us down. The Pope's shutting us down, but I go to the Latin Mass. It's beautiful, the Latin language. Have you had much to do with Latin?
That's right. And amazingly enough, even development of Europe is, for instance, France is a Germanic country,
Yes.
but
France.
it was initially it was or German. The Germans actually settled it, and so the French language is a large part Latin.
I want to do trivia. Do you know the European language that is the most similar to Latin?
Yeah, it's based on Latin. Yeah, that's
which
it.
one?
And English is a percentage of it is Latin. French is largely Latin.
But what do you
Yeah,
think?
but it's a Germanic
Number
language.
one. What's the number one Latin language still spoken today? The number one.
Number one, unless it's I don't know either Italian or
Think, but it's not. It's Romanian. Romanian is the number one. Yeah.
I can believe that too. Yeah, because the settlement of those people from the north, into the rest of Europe, it's just amazing,